Hey, what's up, everybody? Hey, I just realized it's been a little bit over 4 months since I took the plunge and decided to get rid of Mac OS on this iMac, 2019 iMac, and decided to stick Pop OS on it. And so I thought I would do a quick video just sort of recapping things and letting you know what I think after 4 months of daily playing Steam and especially playing Football Manager here on Linux. So first of all, just so you can see that this is legitimate, this is my home screen. Home screen on my right monitor. I have a monitor over here as well that will show you basically the same thing. And on this monitor, you can see there is the Pop OS logo, which I have not changed. If we want to see this here, I have a terminal here for you. We can do a NeoFetch. And the NeoFetch will tell us, as you see right there, that there's the Pop logo. We are using Pop OS 22.04 LTS on our iMac 19. In case you were unaware, this 2019 iMac has an Intel i5 9600 CPU, which at the time I thought was probably pretty good. I guess I could have gotten something a little bit better. What you forget about when you buy a Mac computer, of course, is that you can't upgrade it, so I can't get a better CPU in there, which is one reason why I have plans to make my own computer and do it the right way using Linux. The other reason, of course, is this GPU. The Radeon 470 is not awful, right? But it's really not good enough to do the stuff that we really want to do. I do have 40 gigs of RAM in this machine. 40 megs, I feel like I'm going back to the mid-90s. I need to stop watching LGR gaming. Yeah, 40 gigs of RAM here in this computer, which has helped things a little bit, but I don't know if it's really helped that much, honestly. And of course, we're using Genome, and it's okay. I'll be honest with you. I mean, there's part of me that really wants to switch over. I've been seriously considering going for Arc. And we're going to put Arch on this old MacBook Air that I've got. I have a plan to do that, though unfortunately today it's probably not going to happen because I got a couple other things I got to do. Maybe sometime next week we're going to go for that, and I want to learn more and more about how the computer actually works. That's the plan going forward. You're probably wondering where the Football Manager content is, and we'll show you right here. So this is my Steam library, which doesn't have very much, as you can see. And I think all of the games I have installed here have a Linux compatibility. Yeah, they do, because they all say play. So if you haven't seen this before, I showed this in my other video about Football Manager. If you're trying to get it to work here on Linux, when you first install it, like you take this off, it'll give you this here, which says just Football Manager. You want to click on that right there and make sure that you have Proton Experimental set up. And that's kind of the way that it goes. If you are doing that, then you should be pretty much good to go. See, play, and then we can go ahead and click on and just start it off and see what happens. You need to make sure that you use something. I recommend using Proton Experimental because Proton Experimental is it's a little bit bleeding edge, I suppose, and it might not be necessarily the best choice for you. I guess it depends upon what you're doing and it depends upon what your setup is and all that stuff. But I've had a lot of success with it. I haven't had any times in which it suddenly didn't work. Whereas with older versions of Proton, I have had instances in which it hasn't really worked all that right. As you can see, after we click in and get it going, I do just want to make sure that I didn't just do something crazy and get everything totally screwed up, which happens from time to time on Linux. You get used to yourself doing stupid things. As we get this set up and running and going, we'll show you that, yes, the game does indeed work. And here we are, and we have our skin here. We have everything on there, and we can jump right on into loading the most recent game and sort of see how it runs. And as you can see, it loads up perfectly well. And here we are with the skin and with everything set up the way that we want it to be. So we'll go ahead and exit out of this now. Now, you might be wondering, I mean, is there any sort of drawback to using Football Manager in Linux? I have not yet found one, right? I know that if you go on over to, what's it called, ProtonDB, and you check out and see, like, okay, what do people say about how does this work, how does that work? Honestly, it all runs pretty well. The only thing I would say that is a little bit hard is trying to figure out like where your folder directories are, right? So I'll show you this here. Let's see, how do I get rid of this thing here on the side? Well, whatever. I'm not going to get rid of it. I'll let you see everything that goes on, right? So this is where the directories are. If you look here at the very, very top, and I know it's small, my apologies for that, but there's like a billion different folders you got to search through, right? You got local, you got share, Steam. So you got to go to .local, share, Steam. This is where everything's going to be, and then you'll want to go under Steam apps. And then under Steam apps, you're going to go, I think it's under common. Yeah. Football Manager so if you go under Common, Football Manager 23, that'll give you all of the common things. But if you're looking into figuring out like where everything is and where everything's at, let me go look through this again. You've got to go over to comp data. That's right. And then you click on the number that corresponds with the game that you want. And then you will go under, I think it's PFX, Drive C, and then users, and then Steam user. There you go. And then you will have, the folder that you need. I can't remember if it's under app data or exactly where it is. You can tell it's been a little while. Steam user, then documents. That's where it's at. Documents, Sports Interactive, Football Manager 23. And here you have all of your editor data files and all the other stuff. I said this before in an earlier video, just so it bears repeating, right? You have your editor data files here. There you go. You can see a whole bunch of these that I have. But if we open up a new folder, we go over and look at the editor data file that the actual pregame editor uses, you'll see this is a different directory. And it is a different directory because it will use a different number for sorting, right? The number for that is this 2066750 and not 1904540. So that's something to remember. I think that these numbers, if I understand this right, if I remember right from the Arch Wiki, I think those numbers are static. In other words, it just sort of depends upon what it is that Steam assigns, what number Steam assigns to the game. In fact, let's look that up right now. Of course, I spelled Steam wrong. This is what happens when you try to do anything while you are in the middle of videoing. An actual professional would probably have paused things and done things or have some sort of edit, but we don't play that way. We do it hardcore style here. So you can see on the Arch Linux explanation, the wiki for this, as we go down into directory structure, it will tell you where the directories are located and how the games are divided up for Linux games. It's under library and so on and so forth. When you're using Proton, you are going to end up using a version of Wine, and that's what gives you these sort of really weird virtual folders and stuff like that, and that's where things get a little bit crazy and a little bit bizarre. But it's not really a huge problem, right? You can read through this. It will be fine. You just have to make sure that you fiddle around a little bit with your directory structure and it'll be okay. Now, I will warn you that the directory structure on Linux is different depending upon what version of Linux you're using. Proton Experimental does weird things depending upon what version of Linux you're using, so go for it. The other thing is that Steam is only officially supported for, I think it's Ubuntu or something like that. So if you have other questions, you got to go into forums and figure it out. Having said that, it's honestly not that bad. It's not that hard. The game runs great. Other games run just fine. Seriously, guys, if you're thinking about switching over to Linux for whatever reason, you should do it. How can you tell if you're ready for Linux? I'll tell you this. If you have a computer running Mac OS and you find yourself using the terminal more than using the GUI, you need to go to Linux. That's a sign. If you have a Windows computer and you're tired of Windows doing Windows things and you want a computer that runs faster, you should look into Linux. I do think that there's a little bit more of a gap between Windows and Linux because you have to learn a lot of Bash. In Mac OS, the terminal and the commands that you use it's not exactly Bash if I remember right, but it's very, very close, right? You can convert things over pretty simply. And it's really not that hard to use Linux. In fact, you can do a lot of sort of learning as you move along. There are books that you can use that will be good guides to it. However, I would recommend seriously just jumping in. At this point, the way that things have been developed in Linux, there are plenty of distros that are very friendly for you. Pop! OS is one of them. I would recommend, if you have interest in it, to just dive right in and see what happens. There you go. That's my opinion on the subject. Gaming on Linux works great. Thank you very much for the Steam Deck, because that has helped a lot with Proton compatibility and all of this. We're doing a great job. These games are good. They're fun to play. Linux is a great operating system, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.